Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, it was a great game last night. The Dodgers pounded out 9 hits. They scored 5 runs. It was enough because Landon Knack did a good job last night on the bump. The bullpen, for the most part, held serve, and the Dodgers held the Giants down to just 2 runs. So, man, has it been a successful run since the end of the All-Star break. The Dodgers have figured out just every which way to score runs. Last night, they got a lead early, and then they pitched well enough. You know, there's an old saying in baseball, get a lead early, and then use your pitching to make the game boring. That's kind of what happened as far as the game went last night. And then the Dodgers made the game boring with some pitching. Now, when I say boring, there were some moments that were pretty tense. You know, the Landon Knack gives up the home run and then gets behind 3-1 to the next hitter and has to execute. So there's some little gains within the games as far as that goes. But in the overall overriding thing, what I'm talking about is you felt like the Dodgers were holding serve long enough to go ahead and score a couple runs and put the Giants away. Something they did when the bottom of the lineup put together a nice rally last night for the Dodgers and got the Dodgers back on the board in the 4th inning, which then when you add the run in the 8th inning, of which another run in the 8th inning, that's 5 games in a row where the Dodgers have scored in the 8th inning or later. And I went through all the different numbers of runs that the Dodgers have scored, which is a bunch of runs. I mean, the Dodgers, I don't remember exactly what the number was that I went over yesterday, but it's like 13 or 14 runs the Dodgers have scored from the 8th inning on since the end of the All-Star break, and there is no better way to break your opponent than to score late in games. I'll tell you another way to put your really a dagger in your opponent. How about 2-out RBI base hits? 5 of those last night. 5 RBIs with 2 outs last night. That was fantastic. And then another metric, hey, I've set the bar at 15, probably a little bit too high. I think probably 12.5, 13, somewhere in that category, that range is probably the right formula or the right standard to try to hit, or the right goal, I should say, with runners in scoring position. The Dodgers, they weren't great with runners in scoring position in terms of racking up hits, but they did have 13 opportunities. 13 opportunities will play because, hey, you either need to have quantity, in which the Dodgers had last night, or quality, or a little bit of both. And last night, definitely the Dodgers had enough quantity to score the 5 runs and win. So the wild card, as far as the NL West, not the wild card, we'll get there here in a second. The NL West, the Dodgers still have a comfortable lead there. I think the Dodgers are probably going to win the NL West by double digits because I think they're going to make some moves. They're only going to get better, and I think they're going to just extend the gap in talent between them and the Padres, D-backs, and Giants. So I think that lead's probably likely to grow versus shrink. And so really the thing that I mentioned this yesterday that I'm looking at the most is the wild card setting. So the Dodgers now are 2.5 games up on Milwaukee. You definitely want to finish ahead of Milwaukee in that wild card deal because you don't want to play that 3-game series in the wild card because, like Joe Kelly said, hey, any one guy can get hot. They could have one good pitcher or whatever, and that's a scenario where even the best teams in baseball could lose. So it was a good game last night. It was a game that I just never really felt like the Dodgers were totally threatened. And how about this? Okay, and this came straight from the broadcast, and Joe Davis, what a wonderful job Joe and Oral do. Also Tim and Rick on the radio side. I mean, we are so spoiled when it comes to broadcasters. Steven Nelson does a great job. I highlighted the other day some of Nomar Garcia-Parra's analysis on Gavin Stone's changeup. We are so spoiled to get to listen to all these just fantastic broadcasters. So I got this information from Joe Davis on the broadcast. The Dodgers have trusted the rookies this year. I mentioned just yesterday, hey, the fact that they chose River Ryan over James Paxton, that's a shift to hey, we're all in. We're going to put out the best talent and the best players and do whatever it is that we have to do to be all in to win a World Series this year. That move really, to me, what just was loud as far as the pivot to that type of mentality. So the Dodgers have heavily leaned on the rookies. Yes, obviously a lot of it has been the fact that they've had to because of injury, but a lot of it too is because they've held up their end of the bargain. How about in games that the rookies have started this year, the Dodgers are 16-8. How about in games that rookies have started this year, the Dodgers have an ERA of 3.10. And that doesn't include Emmett Sheehan, who is one of the most explosive pitchers that you have as far as young guys who's on the IL. That doesn't include Kyle Hurt, who's super explosive. That doesn't include Nick Frasso, who had shoulder surgery and hasn't pitched all year. That doesn't include Bobby Miller, who has one of the best pitching arsenals in all the game of baseball. That's beyond all those guys. 16-8 as far as the overall record in games rookies have started, 3.10 ERA. That is just absolutely phenomenal. So it was the 44th start overall by rookies last night. That just goes to tell you and goes to show you just how crazy it has been for the Dodgers. So, hey, Landon Knack, how about him? Let's get to him and some of the way that he did things last night. I was so super impressed with Landon Knack just for the simple fact that, I'm going to say it again, it wasn't perfect. It was an outing to where you did not get a perfect Landon Knack, but yet you didn't get a perfect Landon Knack. He goes 5 innings, gives up just 2 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 96 pitches. I think he could have went the 6 innings if the Dodgers wanted him to, but man, you get gun shy when you start having guys drop like flies. So the Dodgers went ahead and took him out at the 96 pitches after the 5 innings. So Landon Knack's like a really nice buffet on a cruise. And what I mean by that is he has a little bit of everything to offer, and everything he offers is really, really good. So he used his fastball in a whole bunch of different situations. There were a lot of situations to where he threw his curveball, of which he hung a curveball to Fitzgerald. That's the 1 run that he gave up. It happens, man. When you throw as many breaking pitches as Landon Knack does, and you're trying to locate this and that, you're going to hang one every once in a while. And when you do hang one, you just hope that you get away with it. Last night, and to the wrong hitter. Right now, nobody's getting away with mistakes to Fitzgerald at all. So made the one mistake as he hung the curveball to Fitzgerald. But other than that, it was really great how there were periods of the game to where he used his slider and curveball to get back to his fastball on the outer half. And then there were also periods in the game to where he tried to do that, didn't throw strikes with it, then had to challenge hitters with his fastball and still beat hitters with it. That's what was very exciting to me about that, was it just looked like the way that he was sequencing. There were times where he pitched backwards. Then there were also times where he led off with the fastball. There were times, like once he went back to back to back on changeups, 3 changeups in a row, and ended up getting a strikeout out of it. So there was just the sequencing. I mentioned in my show the other day with Clayton Kershaw how he was throwing the slider curve fastball, and then the curve slider fastball, and then the fastball slider curve. That literally was exactly what Landon Knack was doing last night. And then right when you get into that groove, well, he's going to either throw 1 of the 3, and it's going to be in a sequence back to back to each other. Then he goes back to back to back on a changeup and just messes that entire sequence up for a hitter and just completely changes the whole thing up. So he is very unpredictable. And so what that did for him is that it created margin for error. It allowed him on the handful of occasions that he didn't get ahead in the count when he threw a slider or a curveball or even a fastball. It allowed him, he was so unpredictable, and he had the hitters off balance well enough to where he could go ahead and throw a fastball in there and sneak a strike and not get ambushed. So there's a couple of ways that you can create margin for error. One way is just bully the hitters. Do what Justin Robleski does with his fastball. Do what Bobby Miller can do with his fastball. What River Ryan can do with his fastball. Obviously, Tyler Glass now as well. You just throw it in there and you go, hey, man, this is more manly than you can handle. That's one way that creates margin for error, because you can use that big stuff even if you do get in a jam and you don't throw a couple pitches the way you like, you can use that big stuff to overpower hitters and get yourself out of jams. Another way you create margin for error is that you keep hitters off balance. And so even if you do center cut something, their timing is off. That was Landon Knack last night. And then also just the way that he used everything made his fastball, which isn't 100 miles an hour, but he made it play up. You saw that hitters were late on it. They just didn't time it up. They didn't square it up. Just 2 hits, I should say. And that's because of all that sequencing and keeping hitters off balance. So it was great to see in the 4th inning that the bottom of the lineup got things started, and then it got back to ShoheiOhtani. And I have absolutely no idea what the idea was in that Ohtani at bat. Ohtani got a slider that was down and in. And if you know anything about the way left-handers swing, that down and in pitch is something that they absolutely destroy. And Ohtani didn't miss it. And the Dodgers scored a couple of runs to take a 2-run lead. So 4th inning, bottom of that, we just talked about it, turned over to Ohtani, a terrible cutter. And then Honeywell comes in, throws 2 scoreless innings. Brent Honeywell is a perfect example of Dodgers fans want the front office to go out and break the bank for relievers. Brian Brazier, Evan Phillips, Chris Martin, all these guys that have been just super productive for the Dodgers. Now, this year, Anthony Bonda, Brent Honeywell, just goes to show they can find these guys. So you save your prospect capital maybe to go get a starting pitcher, maybe a third baseman, maybe an outfielder. And so the bullpen was good. And then Gavin Lux. He had 2 more hits last night. He had a double. And the thing that I really liked about Gavin Lux was that even in his swings and misses, he was very, very aggressive. So when Gavin Lux is going well, the sweet spot in his barrel stays above the baseball, and he attacks it more so through a flat paint playing through the ball and then lifts at the front. And he's really in that groove right now. Go back to his swings last night. You'll see him stay above the baseball. So it's great to see Gavin Lux play great offense. We've talked about that ad nauseum. I don't think there's a whole lot of great options at third base. So who knows what will happen there. One of the options would be internally move Miguel Rojas to third when Mookie Betts gets back, but Mookie at short and Gavin Lux at second base. So other than that, hey, man, it was just kind of a game that the Dodgers, it kind of came and went. I know it was against an arch rival, but it was a game the Dodgers just kind of controlled. They took advantage of their opportunities. They scored early. They took an early 2-0 lead. They made the game boring for the most part. I know the Giants did score in the top of the 2nd inning on the home run. So the Giants did answer a touch, but for the most part, the Dodgers were able to keep the game boring long enough to where they could score the 2 spot in the 4th and then add on also in the 8th. So the run in the 9th that the Giants scored was completely irrelevant. So, hey, 2 more games with the Giants. You've come out of the break 5-0. Everything looks great. You're back up to a 2.5 game lead over Milwaukee with the wild card. You've got some guys at the bottom of the lineup that are starting to give you some punch, like a Gavin Lux. The other day it was Kike Hernandez. At some times it's been Chris Taylor. There's been times like last night, Kevin Biggio got a hit. So I think the bottom of the lineup is starting to produce a little bit more, but there still are issues on this team that it's going to be very fascinating to see how the Dodgers front office addresses. And I was talking to a scout in the system last night on the pro side, and his comment was, of course, I'm not going to divulge anything that we talked about, but his comment was, Andrew Friedman always comes up with something out of his sleeve. He pulls something out of his sleeve that nobody was expecting. And so it's going to be super exciting to see what that will be this year. So that's my talk on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Pretty cool down the farm. What we're going to do is Austin's going to join us for the Great Lakes part, and then I'm going to do the Oklahoma City and the Single A Rancho Cucamonga part because Austin had to go to work and this and that. And so it's going to be me for those 2 parts. It jumps around a little bit. That's okay. And then it's going to be Austin for the Great Lakes Loons. So hope you stick around for that part of it as we cover all of the action in the minor league system. So with that, let's not waste more time. Let's get right to it. Or let's take a trip down the farm. Welcome to Down on the Farm, where we're going to talk all about the action in the minor league system last night. Austin, I know that you were very close in watching the Great Lakes game. What an exciting game there was there for the Loons, the walk-off by Jake Vogel. I was in Oklahoma City, got to see BrusdarGraterol, Alec Gamboa, got to see Cody Hosey hit a home run, Andre Lipsius have a big night. Also, Diego Cartaya had a big night as well. So, hey, take it over. Start us off with the Down on the Farm action.
All right, so this is kind of a big series for Great Lakes. You're going up against the team who won the first half Midwest League East Division champions, the Lake County Captains, who are a complete club. They're a team that has a lot of offensive force. You talk about Alex Mooney's on this team, Cooper Ingle, Jorge Burgos, a lot of guys that have a lot of good offensive tools. And some guys that have already been called up that you will be hearing about at the big league level. So this is a good, real test for a Loons team that is still only 3.5 games back from first place in the Midwest League East. They're going to be playing Lake County a lot. They have 12 more games scheduled with Lake County the rest of the season. If they want any sort of chance to go ahead and make a playoff spot this year, it runs through Lake County. And so last night, starting off the series in Dow Diamond against Lake County Captains, and you got to give it up to the starting pitcher last night, Jacob Metter. Jacob Metter has been a guy that has moved quite around throughout the organization, spent a little bit of time in Tulsa, but for the most part has spent most of his time in Great Lakes. And last night he provided exactly what the Loons needed, was able to pitch really well, was able to keep a lot of these really solid Lake County hitters off balance, and he went 5 innings, only giving up the 2 runs. He has grown a lot as a pitcher as of recent. And I think I date that back to some of his starts in West Michigan, when the results might not have been completely there, but the process was there. You could see the confidence that was growing, and maybe it just unraveled a little bit towards the end. I think we're starting to see more and more of Jacob Metter that we're starting to really like. I think he's got a really good pitch mix, and I think he's really starting to settle in. Was really impressed by what he was able to do against this really talented Lake County offense.
Absolutely. I had a chance actually to see Jacob Metter when he was in AA Tulsa. I had video of him. I sat right behind home plate, and I can tell you the one thing that really sticks out about him now, he's about 93-ish, so the velo isn't going to be something like you saw with River Ryan or Justin Robleski, but he is a very professional pitcher. So imagine Landon Knack, that type of pitcher, where he's going to locate to the glove side corners, he's going to change speeds, he's going to have professional sequences, and he's going to execute very professionally. That's Jacob Metter. Now, imagine that type of setup with a lot of crossfire. Look where he lands right here. That ball is coming across his body. And I'm telling you, as a hitter, I sat right behind home plate. All you see are his knees. You see his front leg kick up. You see his back, the pocket and on his pants. And then all of a sudden the baseball's exploding on you, and you just don't see it. And I mean, hitters just kind of jump at it a lot. See right there? There's a late swing on a 92, 93 mile an hour fastball because it appears to be very explosive by just his motion and then the way that he hides the baseball. And then when you, like I said, whenever you tack onto the fact that he has the Landon Knack type execution and sequencing and pitch mix, I really do like Jacob Metter. Of course, I've been following him all the way back to Dallas Baptist, Oklahoma State and Dallas Baptist. Play like 15 times a year, so I got to see him quite a bit at Dallas Baptist. And a young man we competed against from El Reno, Rhett Koba, actually was at Dallas Baptist too, who got drafted in the 7th round. So I know a lot about Jacob Metter, seen him a million different times, plus I saw him at TCU, and TCU's in the Big 12 as well. So really like this guy.
Yeah, he's really talented. Same with the pitcher who came in next for Great Lakes. How about Brandon Neek? Left-hander out of the bullpen for Great Lakes. He has put together some incredible performances as of late. This time going up against Lake County, the great Lake County offense. Last time he went 2 scoreless innings late in the game against Lansing. Comes back out there and is just as dominant from the left-handed side this time around. He is just another one of these left-handed arms that Dave Anderson, the pitching coach of Great Lakes, has got to work with and has turned into something really special. He's one of the most reliable guys out of this Great Lakes bullpen, and he continued to prove that last night.
He absolutely did. What else stuck out to you as far as, hey, Brandon Neek, by the way, you mentioned it before we move on.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on it. Dave Anderson, the pitching coach for the Great Lakes Loons, going all the way back to like Jeff Belge, Kristen Suarez, Franklin De La Paz. I mean, Benoni Robles. I mean, just one left-handed pitcher after the other. Jack Dreyer. When Ben Harris was in Great Lakes, he was a dominator. There's something that Dave Anderson does at that high A level, and keep in mind, he gets dumped 500 pitchers, and then they're like, okay, we'll find a way to get them all action. So, I mean, he's like every day having to detail like sim games in the bullpen to make sure everybody gets plenty of action. But whatever he does with left-handers, it's like magic what Dave Anderson does at the Great Lakes level.
Yeah, he's a magician. Him and Richard De Los Santos, both of the pitching coaches at Great Lakes, have been phenomenal over the past 3 seasons that they've been at that level. And I think they're doing something. Look, gave up the run late. You can say that it was had to do with wild pitches, had to do, I think it maybe a hit by pitch, stolen base, and then one of those singles that just out of the reach of Dylan Campbell. But I also got to give it up because Carson Hobbs is still pitching with a ton of confidence right now. I know he gave up the 1 run, but was able to, with runner on base, close or was able to pitch really well last night and able to get out of a jam. He's pitching with a ton of confidence. And I think this Loons team, this Loons bullpen, is starting to give him more and more opportunities. He throws really good velo. He has really good stuff that breaks off of the table. He's starting to pitch really well with a ton of confidence.
And then before we get into JosueDePaula, ThayronLiranzo, and their impressive feats last night, you got to fast forward all the way to this right here. Tell us about this, Austin.
This was a really cool feel-good moment for somebody who there's been times when he's showcased a lot of really good skills, but then there's also been times where there's been a lot of frustration this year. I'm talking about Jake Vogel, the center fielder within this Dodgers organization. He had a great moment last night. It was late in the game. Loons were down 3-2. They were able to get a couple of runners on and then move those runners to second and third because of a balk. And then with 1 out, infield is in, outfield is in as well. Jake Vogel was able to go up there and deliver, hit a deep fly ball that would have scored if the outfield was kind of playing a little bit more traditionally. Probably 1 run with the sacrifice fly. But because they were playing in, the center fielder was not able to get to that baseball. Both runs were able to score on a walk-off ground rule double. This has to be like the 6th walk-off the Loons have had.
Yeah,
you can see the green and red lights flashing, brand new lights installed into the stadium. Big win for the Loons to try to get them back into this Midwest League East Division contention. Really good feel-good moment, especially for a guy like a Jake Vogel, still working on trying to get his swing completely there. He had a couple of hits last night, none bigger than what he had right there.
And it's kind of fun because that high A Great Lakes level, it still kind of has that college environment feel to it where it's team-oriented and you're trying to win something and you feel like you're a part of winning this or that. Double A has a little bit of that, and then by the time you get to Triple A, it's all about, man, I got to get to the major leagues. It's just amazing the different environments when you go from one place to the next. So let's move on to the most impressive parts of the night. What you're seeing right here, ladies and gentlemen, from a 19-year-old young man, 109 miles an hour on a fastball. So, man, you talk about impressive. This dude absolutely clobbers the baseball when he hits it. Now, that's the issue there. Lower launch angles. That's the only reason why he didn't hit home runs. But this dude absolutely massive exit velos. That one there, 108. So 109 and 108 on 2 singles last night for JosueDePaula. How about that?
Oh, we don't usually get all of that data at the high A level. Brett Tunney and John Vicari, the two broadcast announcers, try to give that information, but it's not like it's written down anywhere. So when you get that feats and when you see something as impressive as 109, 108, that brings a ton of excitement for the young JosueDePaula, who is a great prospect within this Dodgers organization. It's been, and it continues to be an absolute treat to be able to watch him grow and develop at this Great Lakes level. He's got great control. He's got a great ability to draw walks, stay within the zone, and he also has the ability to hit the baseball incredibly hard. It's a little bit more of that lower launch angle, but those line drives are still going to be base hit. Some of those, if you can keep it to that line drive type distance, you're talking about an amazing hitter. He's got all the talents in the world. A lot of exit velo coming off the bats in Great Lakes last night.
You think that's good, huh? Oh, yeah. Watch that. 111 from this. I mean, that's like right there, the center fielder who's pretty fast. I mean, that ball should get cut off by somebody. But because it's 111, I mean, it's like nobody can get to it. And it ends up being a double for ThayronLiranzo. So you think 108, 109's good? Try 111 from the 21-year-old catching prospect, ThayronLiranzo.
Yeah, ThayronLiranzo, Leary. It was great to see him have that hit, have that double, and just the exit velo. You're reminded about the skill set. You're reminded about the tools that he has. The 21-year-old catcher who's young for the level, for the high A level, is really starting to get an impact at this level. Has the tools, has the ability to hit for power. It's been the home runs have been down a little bit, but the exit velos are there. The process is there. He's working incredibly hard. He's still very talented and very highly regarded within the system.
Going to jump now to the AAA Oklahoma City level, and really there wasn't a whole lot to talk about the Tulsa game last night. At least not enough to justify not to spend all the amount of time that we possibly can on Oklahoma City. Now, the scoreboard didn't look nice last night to them. There were some early errors, 3 errors to be exact early on for Alec Gamboa. But other than that, there was actually a lot of good action last night in the game. If you're just kind of looking at the different pieces that might be able to help a major league club coming up fairly soon, the one that would fit that category the most is BrusdarGraterol. Now, you're getting a really good look at him. So from behind, you don't really get a good look at the extension and how close they get to home plate. Let me back this up and kind of show you here with this throw with BrusdarGraterol when we get into one against a hitter here in just a second. See right there, that extension right there is not very good at all. When I say not very good, I just mean he doesn't stride out very close to home plate. So because he doesn't stride out very close to home plate, that means that his ball has to travel further. And anytime a ball has to travel further, it's going to decelerate. So yes, he is 98, he's whatever, but still because his extension is not great, he has to rely on throwing a whole bunch of sinkers and locating to move the ball. See, that's a sinker right there. Let me show you that again. Watch this ball turn right here for BrusdarGraterol. That's what makes him good right there. So the velo hit about 97 last night, and I did have, there's another sinker. See how that ball turned left on your screen, but as far as a pitcher goes looking at it, that ball is turning right. And then he can nail that outside corner, and you can see to that glove side, it straightens out, has more four-seam tendencies. There's a slider there from BrusdarGraterol, and there is one more to the glove side that straightens out for him. So you've seen the right turn. There's another right turn to the sinker. You've seen it straighten out to the glove side, which is the outside corner to a righty, and you have seen his slider. And you've got to see the extension or lack thereof from a front-facing look, and I was probably about on the 10th row or so watching BrusdarGraterol last night. And so it's super exciting, and he might be getting back into the fold. 97 last night, I had the question. I was mentioning that a minute ago. Are you worried about the only topping out at 97? The answer to that is absolutely not. I've even discussed this with some of the guys I've had on for interviews, like a Joe Kelly, and asked, hey, what is the goal of rehab? And goal number one, stay healthy. So he's just trying to be smooth with his throw, not trying to max out his throw whatsoever, and just trying to cruise it up there, like River Ryan said, at a very smooth and natural rate. So super exciting to see BrusdarGraterol. Going to go tonight again, hopefully get to see Michael Grove, and then going to go back and get to interview Michael Grove. I have about 10 interviews set up for this week, so hopefully get to all those. So there is a good look at BrusdarGraterol. So the starter last night was this young man, Alec Gamboa, and he was about 95, 96, something like that. And yes, there were 9 runs put on the board, and then none of the runs in the big inning that went on the board were earned because they were all due to errors. And then there were 3 big errors early. So when you look at what happened, he literally, I think it was the second inning, he had to stay on the mound for like 30 minutes because nobody could make a defensive play behind him. But he fought through it pretty good, and again, only gave the 1 run. So there's a good look at about a 95-mile-an-hour fastball is what you're seeing there. Again, Alec Gamboa, a young man that does have some crossfire to him, meaning he lands in the first base dugout pretty good, is a guy that has a good fastball. He has a good slider, and in the past has had a good changeup. And so I was super excited to get to see Gamboa last night and get to see his mix. Likes to use the top of the zone like you saw on that pitch, and then there's the good slider to the lefty. So there's a good look at Alec Gamboa. Boy, Diego Cartaya had a good night last night. This is a young man that's hitting 270-ish, I think, in the month of July, and that's off of a really good month in June as well. So I think you could say officially that Diego Cartaya has definitely bounced back from the offensive side of things. He's always been a great defensive player, and then here's the home run there. You see that pitch down and in? He went and got it and deposited it over the left field wall. So, hey, nobody needs to play better right now at the trade line more than Diego Cartaya. We talk about the different ways you can use your prospects. You can either do like you've done with River Ryan, Landon Knack, Gavin Stone, and Justin Robleski, Bobby Miller, and bring them up, and Andy Pages as well, James Outman at certain points, and use them on your own major league team, or you can showcase them for a trade scenario to go get a Garrett Crochet or somebody like that, a Tarek Skubal. So, hey, if you're a Dodgers fan, for more than one reason, you need to re-rooting for Diego Cartaya to figure it out and make himself as valuable as he can. Here's a good look at Tanner Dotson. I was super excited. That's actually Alan Trejo there at second base. I like how he straddles. A lot of the Dodgers guys don't. They go in the front of the bag and then they reach out, and it just makes it to where you're reaching for a runner instead of just dropping the glove in front of the bag and making them slide into your glove. So here's a good look at Tanner Dotson. He was about 95 last night. Has a really good slider. Young man who was a two-way player out of Cal. He's been in AAA Oklahoma City for a minute or two, and he looked really good. I'll tell you what, I was expecting a guy that was going to throw it like 150 miles an hour because he is a guy that has reached 100. There's a good changeup. You saw there's a good little slider from Tanner Dotson, and then there's the good 4-seam fastball. That's about 95. I was expecting to see 98, 99, 100. Instead, I saw a really smooth 95, 96, and obviously that's in an attempt to get the ball in the strike zone, something that hasn't always happened for him. So super excited to give you a good look at Tanner Dotson. And then this is Alan Trejo right here, an entire at bat. He had a couple of hits last night. He has, I believe, hits in like 4 out of his last 5 at bats, something like that. That's a nice little hit. Let's back that up and analyze that swing. Just really a simple swing for Alan Trejo. Just kind of picks the foot up, puts it back down, a little bit of forward movement to that load, and then loads with his hands at the top, and then watch his hands replace that front elbow. See, watch these hands replace the front elbow, flatten the barrel right there, gets to slot. See, his head is still in the middle of his body, the middle of that triangle, then turn the barrel down. Boy, that is a beautiful swing. Hands replace the hands replace the front elbow, barrel flattens, top end turns the barrel down to the ball. That is a beautiful swing with lift in the front. Man, whoever taught this young man did a great job, because that is just absolutely a picture-perfect swing from Alan Trejo. Hey, Cody Hosey went deep again. Young man's hitting about 286 on the season. Of course, you're going to have some months that are better than others. He has struggled so far in July, no doubt about that. But hey, this, you can see right there, that is a very confident swing. He's using all of his core muscles in his body, which is a fantastic thing to do, because those are the strongest muscles in your body, at least they should be, than your hips and your lower half and all that. That's the one thing I think he's doing the best this year, is that he's not feeling for the ball. He's staying centered with his weight and using his core and his lower half to really drive the baseball, and he's doing a great job of it. There's the home run right there. I think that's home run number 10 on the season. Hey, it was great to see Cody Hosey hit a home run last night in person. Well, we started our coverage in Great Lakes because Austin, that's where he was the focus the most at last night and has the most expertise. Then we went to Oklahoma City because that's where I was at, and we are going to finish our coverage on the single A Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. And who you're seeing on the screen right here, this is Wilman Diaz, who had a nice game last night. Wilman Diaz, as a matter of fact, had 2 hits last night. And actually, let me get the video back on the screen so you can see that. 2 hits last night for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, and he had a couple of total bases as well. He also scored a run, and now for him, that makes 3 games in a row that he has a hit. Let me click play here so you can actually watch him perform. He has hit in 3 games in a row, and he has hits in 4 out of his last 5 games. Wilman Diaz, another one of those very talented shortstops in the minor league system. And what I really like, there's Jesus Calise. Watch the smile on his face. After he gets his base hit, he always plays the game of baseball with a smile on his face. Think of Teo Hernandez at the major league level. That's the type of personality and mentality that Wilman Diaz has. So good to see him have a good night last night. This is Samuel Munoz. Boy, he'd have a good night last night. I really like his swing. I just like how simple his swing is and just how direct he is to the baseball. I love that follow through. I love everything about the way that he sets up. Samuel Munoz, 3 hits last night. He also had a double in that. He also had an RBI. And then in that, he had 4 total bases. So Samuel Munoz now, he extended his hit streak to 5 games in a row, and now he has hits in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games out of the 11 that he has played so far this month. So Samuel Munoz having a good month at the plate. Also, you look at the RBIs. He had an RBI last night, and he's drawn a good amount of walks this month as well. So Samuel Munoz had a good night last night. Wanted to give you a good look at him. This is Josué Perez, who had a couple of knocks last night for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. He's now hitting .272 on the year. OPS 824. Congratulations to him getting selected to play in the Futures All-Star game and the All-Star break. Him and ThayronLiranzo. That was a really cool thing to get to see them do, and it's very well deserved because this is a young man that has been very good. I know he's on a lot of the top prospects list, very highly thought of. He's 3 now for his last 9. He has hits in 2 games in a row, and now he has hits in 4 of his last 6 games, and now he has 4, 5, 7 hits in his last 6 games as well. So Josué Perez not having the greatest month of his career, but hey, he's had a lot of success in the past in terms of having good batting averages. He has that very short, very direct swing, infield type player, good speed, plays the game with electric energy, loves baseball. So, hey, good job last night, Josué Perez.